Hi there, I want to tell you a story of how I met Huginn and Muninn. I'll try to retell my story as best as I can. It all started a few years ago, sometime in the early 2020s. Like any other morning, I was walking to work in the early hours before sunrise, enjoying the quiet streets. As I walked down the road, something suddenly bumped into my arm. I stopped and looked around, confused, but couldn't see what had hit me, thinking nothing of it. I carried on walking a little further down the road. It happened again. This time, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a flash of black feathers. I quickly realised I was being dive-bombed, so to speak, by a crow, or perhaps a pair of crows who had built their nest high in the tree that stood over the pavement. They weren't being malicious, they were simply protecting their young from what they saw as a potential threat. This became part of my daily routine. Every morning on my way to work, I'd brace myself as I passed beneath that tree, knowing there was a good chance I'd receive another warning sweep. Curious about their behaviour, I did some research. Most advice suggested wearing a silly looking hat with eyes painted on the back, or carrying an umbrella over my head. While those ideas probably would have worked, I couldn't bring myself to walk to work looking quite so ridiculous. Instead, I had a different idea. Rather than avoiding them, why not earn their trust? I discovered that unsalted almonds are considered something of a luxury treat for crows. So the following morning, I bagged a box of almonds into my bag before leaving for work. Sure enough, as the familiar swooping began, I gently scattered a few almonds onto the grass nearby and continued walking. To my surprise, it worked. Day after day, I repeated the same routine. Gradually, the dive bombing stopped. Suspicion slowly gave way to curiosity, and curiosity eventually turned into trust. Over the following weeks and months, our strange little morning ritual evolved into something I never expected. Instead of chasing me away, they began greeting me. They would often watch for me as I walked to work, calling out from the trees, and in the evenings they would sometimes be waiting for me on my journey home. On occasion, they even flew to the store where I worked and perched outside as if they had come to say hello. Some people might dismiss it as coincidence, but spending so much time with these remarkable birds changed the way I looked at the natural world. It reminded me that trust isn't demanded, it is earned, often through patience, kindness, and consistency. In many ways, they helped shape my spiritual journey, so as it were. They encouraged me to slow down, pay attention, and appreciate the intelligence and personality that exists all around us, and led me on my path to heathenry. Sharing those moments with them has been a genuinely humbling experience. Even today, they seem to recognise me, they call out when they see me, and more often than not, they'll come when I call them in return. After trying several different names, I eventually settled on Huginn and Muninn, after Odin's legendary ravens from Norse mythology. It felt like the perfect choice. In the old stories, Huginn represents thought and Muninn represents memory. Travelling across the 9 realms each day before returning to Odin with everything they had seen. Whether by fate or simple chance, those names seem to fit perfectly. Years later, Huginn and Muninn are still part of my life. What began with defensive swoops from a worried parent crow grew into an unexpected friendship that I always treasure. Sometimes the greatest adventures don't begin with grand journeys or heroic quests. Sometimes they begin with a handful of almonds and the willingness to make a friend. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked my true story, and if you subscribe, it'd be great. It would be good, because it'd be great to have you with us. So until next time, take care and be well.